So what are we going to do? We are beginning the final phase of us, which will be around 3 hours. We will do this session first, and then Martha's session, and all-together session now. And so what we are going to do, you actually know the drill. We are going to begin to gather feedbacks. We will do something which is similar to what we did in the first day, which means that what we begin with is partners. And please choose someone which is not the one that you've been already paired with. So, couples.
Right now.
Okay. Do you have?
I am coupled myself.
Okay, so I didn't have the option to, to print the thingy. So you're going to do it. You can divide your. You're going to use it like this. Please divide it in the middle.
Done.
All right. I understand. We just had lunch. It's a tough moment. It's the end of the school. We are going to say goodbye.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Post lunch, you gotta bring me in it.
Don't worry.
So we can start walking.
And Stefan, tell me when you settle, so I will take it as a...
You should find yourself a couple. For example, Susanne is...
Find yourself a couple. Okay, but I'm leaving in 30 minutes. So.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, but even
He
better.
believes in short-term encounters. Short-term encounters.
Okay.
Let's have fun. Just for a moment.
Okay.
I go with Kade.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Oh, you want to go? I go with Kade.
But I have done
Alright.
some...
Yes. Okay. So the rationale behind it, as if there is one, is the fact that if we are going straight into general feedback, what we will get is something which is very general, usually and very conceptual and not so much real. This is at least the assumption, part of the assumption of the design thinking process. So what we are going to do now, we are actually gathering a very personal feedback, which is the personal feedback of your partner. Okay? So you are going to ask, it's not relevant. By now we know it very well. But you can ask, why did you come here? What did you learn? What you did not learn? What you would have liked to learn? And where do you see yourself and the program going? But it's a personal interview, and you are interviewing your partner in order to design a better experience for her or for him.
Very nice. I like
Okay?
it. Uh-huh.
Go ahead. I can start.
No, you cannot always start. It's not.
He wants.
It's not healthy for the
He
group.
needs to.
No, he doesn't.
I don't want that.
He
I
needs.
do
He
it
needs
for
a design of the
I do it
program.
for production, so to move the
Please,
flow.
Gita,
Yes.
Okay.
brave.
In
Come
my
on.
opinion, it will be. In my opinion, it will be an excellent idea to invite a transhumanist thinker to the summer school of thinking next year. I don't mean someone far out, but one of those actually deep into the technology in order to help this group to create a more precise vision of where we are and what we have to expect during these next 5 years. 5, not 10, that's too much.
How is this connected
To her?
Ah.
Yeah, because Anne is always thinking about social, of the emergence of social, more social thinking and more rethinking, and she's a little bit skeptical concerning
technology.
She as far as I understood her, Anne's idea is that there has to be an emergence of a social experiment, of a I have this word wrong.
Okay.
I didn't expect this. I thought.
Is it
One moment. She said, she missed the social perspective and the more group understanding. So, and I think that today, in order to do that, we have to know where we are. Because in my opinion, we need to know where technology will bring us, what it can be of help with, and I thought it might be a good idea for people like Anne to talk to people like this, in order to find out how can we use this technology.
And vice versa.
Yes, because yesterday we had this experiment where technology really was a problem. We had little time, and in our group we were very frustrated about technology. And then I came up with this idea, and then you said, how can this idea be of help? Because I thought it might be a good idea for you to talk to someone. No?
Okay.
There might possibly an idea. So my idea was that not a person, you brought me completely out of my concept.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So where we are, what we have to expect during these next 5 years, and not only technological, but also economical and on a social level. That's why. So this thinker has to be an expert. That was my idea.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Okay,
great
great.
idea.
Now you can take a revenge. Go.
For the revenge. Mine has to do with time frame, time horizon, time pressure, patience. Because what I heard from Gita is that she's been working a very long time on this concept and is really looking desperately for the next step to be taken in terms of money or people taking on this and hoping that this group would be a place that would, or a group that would be interested in taking on the language that she developed. And so I think it would, there's at the same time an impatience, I want this thing to, I need the money and I want it to get going. But at the same time, like an openness, like, well, who knows if this group is going to take it or not. So I think it would be helpful if there would be like a kind of a time frame, like where would we like to be, well, you said 5 years from now or maybe 3 years from now, and then where would that put her, or where would that put his ideas, or what could happen to what Cadelis, to sort of like have more a time horizon that also creates a spanningsboog. How do you say that? Like a bow or tension, a bow or a tension. You can keep it stretched for a while, but not endless. So it would be good to have like some kind of a
Time frame.
time.
Thank you.
All right. So, our conversation focused a lot on environments, that it's not just about the material that you present, but actually the environment in which you present it and how people interact with each other. And that some of the best learning that you can have is the community that you develop, but you need to feel that you're in a comfortable, good space. The problem is there's no one comfortable, good space for anyone, right? For everyone. So the thought that I had was, I made up the 2 weeks, but that you actually continuously change the location of where you are teaching. Since everyone's going to have a different environment that they want to learn in. Some people want a classroom setting, some people may think that's way too formal and hierarchical, some may want an area where they sit, and some people may draw inspiration from different areas. So the thought was like you could do Montparnasse, but you could do like an outdoor like Luxembourg Garden for one of them, or like a church like Notre Dame, or go to London. And then the last one was like getting outside of everyone's comfort zone, because I think most of the people engaged would be European, that you could go somewhere that's outside of all their context to see how that plays out in the mind. So some like Northern Africa or somewhere else that gets outside of everyone's comfort zone. So that was what I had come up with for the thinking school, is like the environment in which it develops.
Very
and
nice.
presents
So next year in
itself.
Marrakesh.
There you go.
Tel Aviv doesn't count. It's
No.
totally European.
But Marrakesh is together. Let's do that, huh?
Well, we converge somehow. So, yeah, let's read the thing first. Each participant spent a full day dedicated to observe a place where they had never been and build a presentation to other participants that interlaces his identity and his experience observation. And this thing comes from, the thing I noticed from you was that some experience were very focused on theory and some others on practice, and that we may miss interlacing. And also the fact that we like to have very different backgrounds and views, and yeah, so yeah, going in another place, so that's where we merge, and then also trying to combine what we know and what we experienced recently.
Great.
Thank you.
I want to add real quick because I loved one of the other ideas that she didn't end up saying, which was you have to not talk for an entire day. And like so imagine like a training where one of the days was they actually just send you out. You don't talk for a whole day and you have to take a notebook and just like record what comes to your head or what you observe. Because I think nobody does that for the most part. It'd be really interesting to then come back and discuss in a group the next day. What did you think about? Where did your mind go? What were you processing? What were you doing? Did you have any revelations by staying inside your head and rather than as much about the outside world? I just thought that was really interesting. Another one, so I wanted to give her credit for that because I thought that was really cool.
Yep.
I would like to subtract and divide a little bit.
No,
I'm just the points I wanted to make for Hélène were, I guess, related to, and also for the, I guess for like the path we followed, I think also applies to the group as a whole, is to like before every summer before every program we run, to try to come with a lot of internal reflection and clarity about what we want to say and how we want to say it, and maybe why we want to say it. What we want to get and take away from things, and that would translate into maybe better communication practices and more effective communication. So, just in terms of like, well, in Hélène's context, it was sort of not knowing where you as an individual fit within the group as a whole, and maybe like liking the idea of a thinking school, but not really knowing why you're communicating or what you want to get out from the communication or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know if you had feedback from that.
Yeah, it was more also about if you haven't thought about some personal stuff.
Sorry.
It's over.
No, it was about the time you have. It was very practical. It was about the time you have to do some forms of introspection in 1 minute. I find this really too short. So having a reflection beforehand would be a good thing.
The idea. Go.
So my suggestion was to kind of create an understanding of how, as a group, when we come together, we interconnect on multiple different levels. As persons, our areas of discovery and goals. So we could have exercises like you did, like we position ourselves in a room to try and maybe map a bit what we can collectively bring and do, and this also towards some mutual recognition and appreciation, so that we can support self-challenging and exploration of the different impacts that we can create on different levels. So both, towards our own emotional needs and the social impacts that we want to create on the world, and the contribution that we can make into the group, and then to be able to bring this outside as a network of people that can continue to communicate and work together.
You may believe me or not, but it's not
We don't
about,
believe.
it's not
I do
about
believe.
my experience, it's about Rolf's experience. It was his second choice. He will be talking about his first choice. So his second choice was that would be useful within this group school of thinking to experience a little bit more of group dynamics, but consciously experience, to see how literally group dynamics influence the way we think and the results of this thinking. And also in terms of seeing how different tools used for thinking could enhance insights, and it's a little bit different, but could be paths to get insight and understand something. So how we could enhance it. Does it make sense?
Yeah, of course. It makes sense. You wanna...
First time in my life.
There is a rule of the game. Everybody
He doesn't play by the rules.
Come.
I'm too
He's
shy.
a free thinker.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
Because we're taking the...
Yeah, no, I want to present it, but from here.
From here, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But you group dynamics.
Yeah, group dynamics.
Oh no, please
Yeah,
don't
so yeah.
force.
But that was the assertiveness we spoke about, in the wild.
Fuck the rules. So,
Record it.
with my own camera.
You're
So.
not shy. You're not shy at all if I hear you.
Yeah, the idea was, we both had the same idea, that we could communicate in multiple languages. For example, that we don't only speak or use slides, but also make some drawings or sculptures or whatever is helpful. And I think this has a couple of advantages. The first one is, depending on which language we use, it helps us to structure our thinking. For example, the painting I did, it was very structured and had a very simple rules, and everything had to be within these rules. And so it helps to yourself to understand it better, but also the others. And the second thing is, if you speak in multiple languages, then you maybe access someone in a language with the topic, but in another or not. And so chance is higher that he understands it properly. Oh, there's no subpoint. Okay, that's it.
Great.
Yeah, in the
You are not
context
shy.
of guides, no, I say it from here now as well. In the context of guides, experiences, I would recommend, like when we start the next summer school, to do a very challenging kick-off, where you experience yourself in a situation where you feel like, ooh, I'm showing too much of myself maybe. And afterwards, maybe we should provide something to contain that again, or to...
Are you asked a ceremony, like restart?
A cold
Like,
water.
yeah, cold water.
Cold water
jump.
ceremony in the beginning, I love.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Or like
Nothing
cold
yet, but
kickstart.
Improvisation.
Jump right into it. But then I thought, when I generalized it even more, I thought maybe we should, over the whole week of summer school or of the program, if we should maybe develop two different paths of the program, where one could be called like something like, here's where you challenge yourself and your thinking. Use this challenging, forward-moving, like I want to really push myself into something or into experiencing myself. And the other one, like this more containing part in this, maybe also meditation and what is a good thinker. Is a good thinker maybe more than only like this, okay, I can draw forms, but how can I bring that back again? And we should run those two together.
Great.
Okay.
Good. Guys, you are going to get up.
If it's asked so nicely, of course.
Ah, he liked it. Get up.
To get up. Oh, yeah, it's interesting. It's good to have this discussion to my husband.
I'm going to get up.
Yeah, the response. Get the response.
Okay, some...
It's a kind of feedback.
So, following Joven, did I pronounce good? Cool. Our challenge was that she hasn't been challenged enough herself. You know. And so the idea might be to create a practical challenge that is so complex and but also delimited in time and scope, but that we have to fry our brain.
What? Love it.
That we have to fry our brain.
Fry.
Yes.
Fry, like...
Okay.
And that not one person can have the answer.
Yeah.
So that we all have to put the collective intelligence all together to provide an answer, and also that just goes beyond the pure intellectual thinking, that we involved all aspects of our beings. So we integrate our full being individually, but also collectively, and maybe with people in the street or whatever. Just like a very, very strong challenge.
Beautiful.
You go,
Okay. Based on Balthazar's needs, what should be there, here, or wherever, is spaces for what I would call frontiers of advanced thinking, and not basics of like, semi-advanced thinking. So that it's not so boring as it is. that was a joke. But what we had as samples from each person, it was some sort of an introduction, some sort of basics, laying on the ground. Obviously, that was what had to be there. But how the mind gets sparkled and inspired and curious and thinking creatively is when you don't hear basics, when you hear the frontiers of what is, most inspiring and most challenging for the speaker at the moment. Where do they go with their thinking? And then create some kind of emergent spaces where from those conversations between people, another layer of the landscape, the shared landscape, can emerge when we interrelate those fascinations, not basics. So that would be
Frontiers.
frontiers.
Great.
Yeah.
You don't have one?
It was very personal
Okay.
to Marta as the leader of
Go.
So
Go, you are
I'm
the
going
other
with
two.
this. I am the other two?
Yeah.
Okay. Additionally, we were also thinking about how to create conditions for collaboration and for co-creation. So we came up with a challenging solution-oriented path. So we said, but competitive collectivism should be the aim, not competitive individualism in these challenges, because this is also part of the sparkling next to the frontier. And another thing, but this is also personal feedback from me, is that the humor I have experienced during this week should be always kept up, because it helped us so much in all our different difficulties. So I have experienced so many groups over so many years in so many countries, and the quality of this group has been expressed from me in the humor we have developed together. So this is also maybe you can't design it into a program. Maybe by choosing the right personalities. I don't know, but this is also
A minute of humor now. There will be a minute
now
of
we can
humor.
tell a joke. Now we can tell a joke.
How much time do I have now?
Well, probably not much. Probably not much. How much do you need? 5, 10?
Okay, good. So what we're going to do now, after this session, enlightening session, please take the things that really felt important along this event. It can be the final solution, please write it down, because this we want. But also if there were particular concept or other ideas, everybody has to write 5?
Sure.
Sure.
I don't understand.
Again.
Yeah.
So first of all, please write down in one paragraph the idea.
What idea?
What
The
idea?
one that you present. Like to invite the transhumanists. Okay. Now, beyond that, we just now move to writings, okay? So we want the one idea, and beyond that, please, if there are other concepts / ideas / insights, you name it, please write them down. And when you are done, we are going to patch everything on this board and to try to organize it in some fashion. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So you can choose different colors. Here, sharing.
I very much like the design of this activity. We're
And
going fast and very nice.
here together.
Yeah, rules are important.
And here. And here, together.
Yes, the three of us are 2.
And there is more here. And where the large
Humor and
Confrontation.
and frontiers, right?
Geneviève,
yeah,
you have this larger
I
hat.
think solution
The
oriented
yellow
challenge.
So,
I think these are the 3 things I take from
And what others? Frontiers.
Someone sees the
Solution
sticky notes,
oriented.
the yellow, the white
The
one?
burning problems, huh? We were supposed to have
I thought that you were saying
Maybe
challenges,
for the
competitive,
idea,
competition.
use
Yeah,
the-
competition.
this
Oh yeah, take this.
Oh, it's more than a solution.
So, how do I call it? Competition?
Yeah, competition is why not?
Yeah, competition is good.
Competition is something that
Right.
lights.
Okay.
The way it is playful.
If you need something larger, please write. Now you're not becoming a tree. Now you're producing 3
This is
different
how we
products.
spell humor in
Mhm.
British. What? No, say it again.
Did you hear that?
What?
You are not again becoming a one.
We are
What about-
again, we are not allowed to collaborate.
But we
So I would like
You know-
collaboration.
just have this, have
I
this, and we
רוצה את
have
היומור.
it.
Yeah.
And what do
I told you אני רוצה את היומור.
what do we do there? I understood humor. That was
Right
all
to
I
the
knew.
main idea. Right to the main idea. And then the highlights.
When you say humor, also with body, joyful.
What's this for? Sayfan? What was this for?
The large one, I thought it's more space to write down your proposal, your final idea.
Competition. My goodness.
I said joyful pleasure of activities. Whatever that means. It means joy and pleasure should be considered. And then we put it on, let's put it
How
on the
do we
whiteboard.
distinct between, this is permanent.
Do we put it on the whiteboard?
No, wait, let me.
says permanent marker or whiteboard marker. Whiteboard.
Okay, so let's say that here is the proposal. And maybe we can have, but that's it. We don't need any other categories. The others are emergent. So the idea that you proposed there on the right and all the other things is somewhere in the middle.
Das war auch gerade eine Aussage.
Yes. let's write fastly.
One more idea.
You don't have anything, any other insights? No, apart from the idea, there is no other insight you had from the interview and things like concepts.
They were mostly about the initiative and not about the school, so this is why, like it was more about the...
No other thing in the 5 ideas was interesting?
I'm saying they were very interesting, but not on the level of the school. It was more about the organization of the school, so it's a different thing. So.
Lama, you're going to use this in your session now. You can use all of this. It's there. You're refusing to use?
We don't have anything to add now.
It was very, very personal.
We made a selection. The most important, right?
Very selective.
Oh, we are.
Very selective.
We don't talk with everyone.
Yes, we do not.
Yes, we do not. Very selective.
We will consider it.
Oh. Okay. So.
Cadel, we are recording whatever you are saying to Ivona. We can read lips.
No. The one that you presented.
Ivona, we heard everything. It's recorded and we can read lips.
Along the session, that you think it's a relevant.
Related to Anna or related
to
I'm just letting you know.
About you,
I'm just letting you know.
School, about
nothing more.
anything that is
I'm
relevant
just letting you know.
to our processing.
It's nice to be remember. You get to decide the direction.
What is this for?
Out of the box ideas. Out of the proposal.
Co-create that, interdisciplinary studies, foundation of thinking before various methodologies, complexity versus systems thinking, what are a list of biases, study and understand all the biases, collective competition to ignite thinking with solution challenges, apply the context to concrete issues, which is also a bit of level and formal for. The background presentations could be more specific in order to avoid too many lecture with too much stuff we already know. Collective challenge on the week. The content from science to experience to science to heuristics is a good structure. Post-training, mentoring, teaching, engagement to help students continue their path. How about the difference? How do you think? If the sharing of intelligence is so high, why is there no social impact? Because, this is a question that we need to tackle.
But we know that answer.
I think that was
okay,
no
this is what we reflect. How can we have social impact if we don't know? Invite transhumanists, I put it there. Okay. Then levels and forms of learning is use several languages like visualizations, etc. Theoretical versus practical. Theater pieces to resolve tensions and for fun. Fry the brain, resolve a complex challenge. Have another look at the wait, somebody put this in the Navis? No.
The Mobius strip.
Oh, the Mobius strip. Okay, I can't explain that one because I don't understand. Visualization and information, more critical thinking, co-exploration of thinking, individual self-assessment of their thinking, visualization of content, meaning for MYST itself and for students, how stress, body, mood play with thinking. You know, this is all about different ways of learning. Humor incorporation, joyful, pleasurable activities, different learning locations and environments. You know, this goes into more into the how do you translate that into a form of a project. Also, I already said that one. Another idea was to provide the participants with a symbol, if you want to call it, of a backpack, which is confined. It's applicable and it's useful, but it invites you to leave the beaten path and to explore your unknown horizons. Not like you're taking a train, you just have your backpack on your back. You take only what you need because you can't carry 50 kilos, but you take everything you need because if you miss something, you're not going to survive. And you can share weight and resources. You find water underway, you don't have to buy it in the shop. So this image of, you know, how you survive. Well, maybe that, I don't know where. Then you have the form and the program. There should be a lot of dialogues. Should be weekly sessions according to questions, interdisciplinary way, what, how, who, and which. A better scientific foundation of the presentations. Every participant spends a non-talking day to contemplate the space. A clear structure of modules, input, well-based scientific, reflecting and critical discussion. Nurture a space that reconnects with with life. You know, this is how you articulate better the different modules with intention and desired output, variety of execution strategies, conversation spaces for passions, new frontiers for inspiration and novelty, active individual input with constructive co-thinking. Every participant has a secret score, aim, task during the week, and unveil it the last day. So these are all ideas of how you could form the program. And then there's a lot about the group dynamics, nurture a space for listening and respect, experience and reflect how group dynamics influence thinking process and effectiveness, how to have an open mindset, group dynamics that encourage debate, challenge, and trust. Don't worry about contradiction and conflict, everyone connects to something different. Group dynamics, thinking distributed versus collective, significant differences. Group reflection needs a group formation. Feedback session, emotional resonance, sharing feelings to create a group dynamics that prevents conflicts. Create an understanding or a map of how we interconnect as a group on multiple different levels. Yeah, each participant spends, energy management, more time to integrate modules, more breaks and shorter days. And articulate the week around one topic, for example, safe spaces, to see the difference in the way of thinking. Some of them might, connect to different groups. But this is mainly, I think, the ideas that came out. And a trial to structure that. Thank you.